Jesus, all the way. I'll forever trust in you. Jesus, all the way.
JC 24/7.
It was Albert Einstein who said that gravitation is not responsible for our falling in love. Then what is? And how do you know when you have hit the jackpot? How do you know when you are in love? Today we begin a series on finding the right one. Well, of course, for those of you who are already married, this series has come a little too late, but I'm sure you could learn some stuff as we interface with our resident pastor, Pastor Morris. Welcome to JC 24/7, and our resident consultant in the person of Myrna Riley Devines, whom I will begin with. Love at first sight. We have heard this adage over the years. Is there such a thing as love at first sight? Is it ever at all possible?
I think a lot of time people think that they are in love at first sight, but actually what happens is that people feel an intense attraction, or there's some quality about someone that attracts them, either the personality, either the looks, either something they say, or just something about them that draws you to them. Is that love? Not necessarily, because love is something that grows. Love is something that builds over time. But of course, you have to start with the attraction. There's something you feel that allows you to start on that journey. So do I believe in love at first sight? No, I don't. I believe in attraction. I believe that there's some feeling there. But
I see your friend Pastor Morris is smiling.
You see, what happened is that attraction that you feel initially for that period can grow and can develop into something else. Whether it was a seed that was planted is another
Pastor, has she presented an adequate case? Is her defense strong?
You know, this whole subject of love is so interesting. A lot of people talk about falling in love. A lot of people talk about having this feeling that you get where, you know, your stomach is all messed up. You can't eat, you can't sleep. That's really the beginning of onset dengue or the flu. That is not what the Bible describes as love at all.
So you never had dengue, brother?
No, brother.
All right.
The Bible actually describes, you know, the fundamental principle behind love from a biblical perspective is choice, that of choice, of making a decision to choose this person. God says in Malachi, Jacob I loved, Esau I hate. It is a choice that God made between the two, and that is the foundation.
So is it that I choose because I love, or I choose to love?
You choose to love.
Okay.
You choose to love. You choose to stay. You choose to commit.
Okay.
You know, and choices are very important. So yes, according to Sister Riley, there is an initial feeling that you feel, and there are initial things that happen. The Bible records when Jacob first saw Rachel, a stone that took 12 men to move, he moved it by himself, and we have a history of the crazy things that this love has caused men to do. I know a man who was in love, who said he was in love, and he picked coconut for his girlfriend in the night with a rod.
That wasn't you, by the way.
With a rod.
That wasn't you, sir.
Not me. It couldn't be me. Couldn't be me.
Mr. Myrna Riley Devines, let me get that correct. Woman, do you think women should initiate a relationship of any kind? Whether it's to get involved, whether it's, you know, for proposal purposes, but what type? Do you think it's all right for a woman to do it?
Yes, I do, you know. And it doesn't it doesn't take away the man's role from being a man. So
it's a man's role.
No, I said it doesn't take away from the man being a man.
Okay.
Some people believe that because the man is the man, he needs to initiate. But let me give you an example. If you have some men, personalities differ. And you have a man that's maybe on the shyer side, quiet, he likes the lady. She senses that he likes her. But he doesn't have enough courage as yet to talk to her or to ask her out, etc. It's quite okay for her to invite him. It's quite okay for her to initiate the friendship and so on, because after he gets to know her, chances are he will feel more comfortable and more confident in himself in terms of taking the relationship further if it has to go that way. But there's no hard and fast rule which says the man has to be the initiator.
So she should not be afraid of any label that may come her way.
Not at
if
all.
She initiates.
And of course, society itself may put a label on. Society might say she's aggressive. Why doesn't she keep herself quiet and wait? But you don't necessarily have to do that. The bottom line is the person likes you and so forth. And it's not that you're initiating to get into an intimate relationship. Sometimes it's just initiating a friendship in the first place, opening that door so that you could
You put it quite
build.
nicely, euphemistically. She's aggressive, but society says she likes man.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it all right for her to like man? And in that way, go ahead and initiate. Pastor Roger.
I want to answer that. You have some provoking questions there this time. Right?
That's all right.
But I want to answer that two ways. Yeah. One of the things I want to answer by asking a question. Now, we haven't reached there yet, but ultimately, they say in a marital relationship, it is really supposed to illustrate the relationship between Christ and the church.
Right.
Does the church go after Christ, or does Christ go after the church? So I want to ask that. But, while you're thinking on that,
I think both happens. But
I think that, because of the times in which we live, some men need a jump start. Some men wouldn't start unless, they get a little push, a little tug in the right direction. So on a personal level, I don't see anything, wrong. It is what is going to happen next and how the relationship is going to unfold is of concern. But who initiates is not a big factor in
age
mind.
Differences. I'm just touching some brief areas here. Age differences. Do they matter? For instance, she is, let's say, 5 years older than he is, or perhaps he is 20 to 30 years older than she is. Let's deal with the first one. Is there a problem? Should we be concerned if you had a son and he comes home and says he has met this girl and she's 5 years older than she is? Should there be cause for concern?
The thing about it is, when you reach to talk about age differences, there must come up an aspect of that discussion where the age factor is a cause for concern. The difference in age factor is a cause for concern. But generally, what you're looking at in a relationship is people and how well they mesh together and how well they are able to resolve their issues and those kinds of things. Because obviously, if you are getting into a relationship and the age differences are very, very wide, you're going to have health issues in a matter of time and all those things that you want to deal with. But not only that, sometimes in a relationship, the elder person comes like he or she would have lived an entire life already, as compared to the next person who seems like a newbie on the block, now discovering life and that kind of thing. There could be problems there, but I'm saying that is a more local situation from couple to couple, rather than a general rule.
We have on the same issue of age difference. If we look at the trend of what is happening now, a long time ago it used to be older men with younger women. What we're finding a lot in society now is a lot of older women with younger men, and sometimes the difference between the men and the woman is as much as 20 years. The woman 40 and she has somebody in her 20s. Recently I knew somebody who was in her 40s and she married somebody who was 23. Is that a problem? Of course it's a problem. It is a challenge because it's okay to say we love each other and we respect each other, but there are some of the fundamental things that you have to ask yourself. As that young man, and I look at it from the man's perspective, do I want to be a father? Do I look forward to getting a child? Am I looking for a long-term relationship with this person? And if I have a long-term relationship with this person, and say, for instance, the person is either near menopause or close to that, what happens to that aspect of my life? Am I willing to forego that? But I'll also share something very classic. Physical features change with time, right? How do you deal with that? And recently I was talking with a young man. I had been counseling with him because he's 25 and his girlfriend is 44. Well, they're not together anymore. And he gave me all sort of arguments why it was important for them to be together. And then he called me and he says, I think age is showing on her. And I was like, but you never had a problem. But now he starts to have all the problem because age is showing on the person. And you see, you have to seriously think about these different things. The other thing, Pastor Morris spoke about the illnesses. As we age, chronic diseases, depending on how our lifestyle practices have been, sets in. What takes you to the relationship is what is going to keep you in the relationship. Why did you get into an older relationship in the first place? What happens when the spouse becomes impotent because of some age-related? Are you going to stick with it? Or are you going to stay with it? So you see, as people think about that, I mean, my parents were 39 years apart. But they had a...
Wait. What is it 39 years? What do you mean?
39.
He was...
As in 30 plus 9. My daddy was 39 years older than my mom.
One person
and you came along
But-
still.
One person was up in the grave, or one person was up in the cave.
No, but let me tell you something. But I tell people, maybe they don't make men like my daddy anymore.
Yeah.
They had a fantastic relationship. We had a fantastic family life. My father was involved in everything and anything whatsoever. He helps my mother. She grew from,
So therefore,
she just...
Would you therefore see your father and your mother as a special relationship?
That special relationship, because it's an exception to the rule.
Is dating in the 21st century absolutely necessary? Dating/courting, is it absolutely necessary in our quest to find the right one?
It is. Okay.
I would think it's necessary. Let me tell you why. In biblical times, let me give you for instance, Abraham wanted a wife for his son, and he sent Eliezer with special conditions to look for a wife for his son. You see, in those days, when a son got a gift from his father, it was loved and cherished.
I hear you.
Now there's no father giving any gift. So somebody has to do the sorting out. You understand that kind of thing? And in light of that, it is very, very rational, and it is very, very necessary for people to come together and discuss. And that is one of the things that offsets this falling in love idea.
Right.
Because sometimes people fall in love, their eye get, as we say, chinky and closed, and they never ask questions.
Right.
And on honeymoon night, you say they didn't cater for that, they didn't plan for this to happen, and that kind of thing, and these things have happened. Right? So the courting and that kind of thing, I think, is absolutely
So it's wrong to cut and paste a certain cultural norm into our society and say that this
And
can
dating
apply to
allows you an opportunity to get to know the person.
That's right.
Because what you see is not necessary. What's the person's value system? What's the person's ambition like? What's the person's background like? What do I know about the person himself or herself? How do they respond when under stress? All of those things. And the only way you can know those things is if you spend time. And I'm not talking spend time in a love relationship. I'm spending time building friendships. Dating allows you to build a bond of friendship. And a lot of marriages are breaking down today because people are not friends. So when the physical attraction wears off, there's nothing to hold them together. Take time to know her. Take time to know him. It's not an overnight thing.
Falling in love and finding the right one is what we are discussing right now. Pastor Morris and Sister Myrna, what are some of the things that you look for when you are entering into a courtship with someone?
All right. Excellent. And I think you start also looking for it as date. And dating is different from courtship, although society sort of lumps them together.
Could you give us a quick definition?
Basically, when you're looking at dating, it's forming friendships. It's going out with persons to allow, generally speaking, to allow you no commitment,
So
generally speaking,
no specialization,
to allow you an opportunity to see people in different environment, different circumstances, learn more about other person, identify qualities that you'd want in a person. When you get into the whole courtship is when I say that, listen, this is the person I like, this is the person I'm looking that possibly could be my lifelong partner, and therefore my commitment is to that person. So once I start courting, I'm not going to be going out with anybody else. But as I said before, society tends to lump the two together. What do you look for? You have to ask yourself, what are your wants versus what are your needs in terms of the building that relationship, courting, etc. So what are your wants? I want someone who is handsome. But is that as important as having someone who is caring? Okay?
But do I want someone who's caring but not handsome?
Right. Well, you see, physical beauty, because sometimes we want it, but is it a necessity? What's the person's value system? That's a need. We're talking about need, things that will be sustainable, things that the relationship needs to build, things that really you can't sustain very much without your value, the respect, the honesty, those things that go to this. Someone who will communicate, because a lot of relationships break down now because persons do not communicate. How does the person respond and react to things under stress center? What is it that I need? Oftentimes people look at, does the person look good? What's the shape like? What's the hair looking like? And they look, does the person have money? What sort of job the person have? But is it as important to look at what job does the person have as opposed to what's the person's potential in terms of advancing and getting a job? Because yes, people can get involved with persons who are not currently working. But is it that they are unemployable or just unemployed at the moment? And you see, these things people have to process. The background is important to look at as well. And it's not so much in terms of what ethnicity you are or what race you are. What's important, what's the value system that your family has as opposed to what might have? How do we match in terms of where are we as it relates to Christ and our spiritual level?
Would it therefore be a question of, I'm not disputing what you're saying, but would it be a question of wants versus needs, or an order of priority as far as because my wants and my needs could very well be valuable to me.
Good.
But my priorities may be mixed up.
One of the things you have to ask yourself, what is essential for this relationship to work?
Right.
What can I compromise on? So the person might not be as handsome or as beautiful as I want, but the person's character and the person's personality outshines that. So yes, I don't necessarily have to get the straight hair and the long hair, the straight nose and the long hair and the whatever. Because that might have been an added value to me because of how I place value. But that's not important, because if I have all of that and the person does not respect me, then there's a problem. If I have all of that and the person is not honest and we can't build trust in this relationship, then there's a problem.
But surely if some of those physical features are not present, I may not even come to talk to you in the first place. Pastor Roger?
When you ask what do you look for, jokingly something jumped into my head, but it's really not a joke. You know? If I'm going into a relationship, the first thing I look for is God. That should be the first, when I say thing, that I look for.
Right.
And I'm serious about that. Because essentially the putting together, the coming together, we normally follow what I call the Samsonite method. Get her for me, get him for me, because he or she pleases me well.
Right.
And it's up to my taste level, my socialization, my everything.
Right.
And these things normally put us in a lot of trouble.
Right.
Does God have something to say? So while I'm generalizing, I'm in touch with him to guide and to direct, so that when I begin to specialize, he would have already had input into that. So that is God, number one. Number two, God. Because I have to see some evidence that this person has some kind of connection to this God that I am serving.
Right.
Because it could very well be, as you rightly said, priorities and all these kind of things could be mixed up, and a lot of that could have to do with your spiritual content.
Right.
You understand?
Or lack thereof.
Yes, or lack thereof, right? So this person at least should be interested in the same Jesus that I'm interested in. We're talking about two people coming together here, and it raises a very crucial issue, Pastor Riley and Sister Devine. Yoking. The Bible says, and I'm quoting what the Bible says, do not put an ox and a jackass to work together.
That's right.
I'm quoting what the Bible says, right?
That's donkey, right?
Yes, well, yes, it could mean that too. Don't put the two of them to work together. They have different mindsets, and they cannot get the objective done.
That's right.
So when it comes to this whole question of yoking, God has to come in there to do the putting together
Right.
of the two to make sure that they're on the same page. So at least we can reasonably expect to get whatever the outcome is supposed to be with the relationship. We could reasonably expect to get that done. You understand?
I know Jesus.
And just before you said, I agree
Sure.
with you. Proverbs remind us, trust in the Lord with all your heart and
Lean
not
not
to
to
your
your
own
understanding,
understanding. In
yes.
all your way acknowledge him and he will direct your path. But oftentimes we find in society persons close God out of the relationship aspect, choose for themselves, and then when there's problem, ask God to fix it.
Okay. I'm coming back to what Pastor Morris had just said. I am involved in a relationship with Jesus. She is not. Should we still remain friends? Seeing that I have assessed you and I don't see God jumping into the
What is
relationship.
your definition of friends? You
Right.
you could be friends. You know what I'm saying? On the platonic level, we could be friends, we could be associates, that kind of thing. But if we are talking about something that is progressive, that is supposed to eventually become something that is more intimate, we have to be very, very, very careful about how we tread on that ground. Nothing is wrong with friendship.
Right.
I have all kinds of friends that different levels. Some of them do not subscribe in the very same way that I am to the things of God in the way that I do.
Right.
But they are friends, they are wrong, and that kind of thing. And I know that those relationships can go so far and no further.
Okay, well, let's get to the point of
And you know
both of
something,
us.
too? The Bible talks about you can't put darkness and light together. But what is happening to a lot of our young people, especially a lot of young people in the church these days, they tell themselves, I'm going to convert the person while we're together. And that is dangerous ground.
Right.
That is dangerous ground.
that's
The
what you call
bottom, right. But you see, that is dangerous ground. You do not get in, and I tell people, don't get in a relationship and expect to change what was there before, because what you see only progressively gets worse.
Right.
You deal with issues, if it's friends, but don't get into a relationship, intimate relationship with people, so to speak, if you have that difference in terms of your value system, your spiritual levels, etc.
Let me get a little more real. Both of us love Jesus. How far should we go physically? Because you just said we can remain platonic friends, for want of a better word. I'm not even sure what that means. But, we maintain a certain level. But now I realize either she does love Jesus or she has come to know Jesus. What level of physical contact should there be, or intimacy should there be?
All right. That's interesting that you put it with me, right? All right. I'll answer that several ways. Now, one of the things you find is that, and I tell people, it's okay to hold hands, it's okay to hug, etc. But the Bible also tells you, shun the very appearance of evil. The Bible, you also need to recognize where are my weaknesses and so forth. And one of the things I say to people, yes, you're going out, yes, you're holding on, yes, you're hugging, etc. But if you find yourself in an environment where there is nobody around, the oops factor can come in because you start to hug there's nobody around, it leads to kissing, it leads to touching, and before that, you become very horizontal without sorting out your vertical relationships. Good? And therefore, you find yourself into problems.
But some people get horizontal because I'm vertical. Because both of us love Jesus, it's all right.
Yes, but you see, that's not the only thing about it. And the Bible was explicitly clear in terms of that things like sexual relations, etc., and anything that indicates sexual relationship is reserved for marriage. I'll tell you something. One across the islands, what we have and this is very real. Sure. You have young girls that talk about, I have my hymen intact. Good? The hymen intact. So they have not had sexual intercourse, penis and vagina, but they're engaging in anal sex. But that is still, you're still defiling the body that God has given to you.
Okay.
And my thing is that at the end of the day, whatever you get involved in, you have to ask yourself, how pleasing and acceptable is this to God? Right. How am I treating God? Because it was no gray area. It's clear, black and white that he expressed that, listen, this is how I want you to conduct yourself. But yes, persons are listening to us that are not Christian and they're not necessarily, and as much as we'd like them to be guided by the Bible, a lot of persons are listening to us that may not be Christian people, that may not even understand that God says your body is precious and I need you to preserve your body until such time as marriage. So,
Pastor Roger.
The thing about this, this is such a critical area. The Bible says God is love, therefore love has to be godly. Love will always be godly. Love will not take you down a path that is at variance with what God is saying to you and has already said. The thing about it is, getting physical, I love the point that Myrna made. You have to know yourself. For Myrna and I'm just using as an example, holding hands might be all right because in terms of, ourselves, touching doesn't really drive us in that way. But there are people who may not even be able to hold hand because touching, just physical touching, stimulates them in a certain kind of way. You don't want to tell them it's all right to hold hands. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to really know and understand who you are. And I think the Lord helps in that regard. You have to know and understand who you are. And as I'm saying, the whole thing about the physical aspect of life, you don't share bodies if you don't plan to share life. You don't share bodies if there is not a plan and if you haven't signed on the dotted line to share life. And that is God's rule. That is God's rule. So once you have signed on the dotted line that we're going to share life, it's all right to share bodies.
We have to begin to wind up, and there's never enough time when the two of you are in set with us. But I felt the need, and I do have this need to ask this one question. God said he took the rib out of Adam, and after he had taken the rib out of Adam, Adam said, this is bone of my bone. My question is simply this. Is there one rib for Roger Morris? And is there one bone for Mona Riley Davies?
I hope my wife is not looking at it. I'll be careful with my answer. The thing about it is, in the moment, there is one bone for me. Meaning, while my wife is alive, there is only one bone.
One rib.
One rib for me.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? If my wife dies, God forbid.
God forbid.
Right? God will see about that other rib. I shouldn't be thinking about that other rib while I'm enjoying this one. So for now, there's only one.
Because the Bible did say after you had taken out the rib, he sewed up the side.
Yes, he did.
So
So there wasn't anymore. And I'm saying hello to my dear wife.
I agree with Roger's perspective.
Because
totally.
husband is listening as well.
Well, whether he's listening or not, but I agree with Roger's perspective. You can't be in and thinking about on the outside. What I need to say, though, because you see, a lot of young people get themselves caught in this. This is a person. I get so enamored with this person. I think I'm in love with this person, and the person is disrespecting me. The person is being abusive. The person is just don't care, no ambition, not going anywhere. And because this is the one for me, I am not doing anything. I had a young lady who the guy, she recognized he was a thief. He was locked up in jail. And when I sat down to speak to her, she said, but is he a love? Is he initiate me? My thing is that, hello, open your eyes when you see light, walk in it. And the bottom line is, God is not going to lead you down a pathway that's going to leave you to distress. And you have to recognize that if you are and if anyone is listening now and is in a relationship and somebody tell you they have to beat you because they love you, nothing goes like that. If you love me, you will treat me in a caring manner. If you love me, you will respect me. If you love me, you will want what is best for me. Just as how the relationship is with Christ and the church. Christ wants to see his church grow and progress and do well. The bottom line is, love is about that as well. The caring, the commitment, the going all the way for the next person.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's never enough time. I mean, when you guys start to talk, we want to enjoy every moment, every syllable, every jot, every tittle. But we have to close off, and I'm sure you'll be only too willing to come back. Pastor? Okay. The Bible says God is willing to perfect that which concerns you. Marriage concerns you. But before there is marriage, there is courtship. So that also concerns you. And God is willing to perfect that as well. Surrender it to God and watch him work. We continue the series when we meet again on JC 24/7.